Okay, let's unpack this for you. We're jumping right into a story you shared with us.
Yeah, this one comes from a personal account and a related news article.
Exactly. And this deep dive, it's really about tracking a specific timeline. We're exploring how events, especially when you look back later, might show more than they seem to at the time.
Right. Using your sources as our map, essentially. We'll look at this sequence of behaviors described, see how they reportedly progressed, leading up to, well, a pretty violent incident.
That's the plan. Follow the path in your material, see what moments stand out now, with hindsight.
And we're working from that personal story about a friend's ex-fiancé.
And the news piece about what happened later with him. Okay, let's get into it. So the timeline you gave us starts, about 4 years ago? Your friend meets this person, her fiancé at the time.
Mm-hmm. And the account mentions he seemed like a pretty normal guy at first. Nothing immediately alarming.
But that changed relatively quickly.
Seems so. According to the account, the first real incident happened just like a couple of months later. There was this big argument involving the fiancé and your friend's parents. A heated one.
And the story says it didn't just stop at yelling.
No. The source details that he really lost his temper. And on his way out, keyed the friend's mom's car.
Wow. Okay.
And apparently this was caught on their security camera, which is pretty clear evidence.
You'd think. So what happened? Did they press charges?
No. The account says the parents decided not to, but only if he paid for the damage to the car.
Which he did, or we assume he did.
The account implies it was resolved that way. But the key thing is, your friend ended the engagement very soon after this.
Understandable.
And the narrative really highlights her looking back on it later, saying it was, and this is a quote, in retrospect, a first look into violent tendencies.
Yeah, that phrase really sticks out, doesn't it? A first look?
So after the breakup, the sources point to this gap in time. A few years, it says.
And during that time, the ex kind of disappears.
Pretty much according to the friend's account.
Mm-hmm.
Social media deleted, couldn't reach him by phone, just gone.
Until that news article surfaced.
Exactly. Your friend saw it shared on Facebook. Headline was something like, "Man arrested for assaulting family member."
And she realized it was him, the ex-fiancé.
Correct. And the news story adds some really important context here about what led up to that event.
Right. What was going on between the breakup and the assault?
Well, the article reported he'd moved back home after the engagement ended. Living with a relative, maybe an uncle, maybe his father. It wasn't specified.
No, okay.
And things weren't good there. The report mentioned loud arguments, police being called a couple of times before this specific assault happened.
So a pattern of conflict was already noted by authorities.
It seems so. And the relative apparently feared for their safety. They were trying to evict the ex, even get a restraining order against him.
Which suggests the fear was significant.
Definitely sounds that way. So on the day of the assault reported in the news, there was another argument.
And this time it escalated terribly.
Yeah, severely. The article gave specifics. He grabbed the tire iron, struck the relative about 16 times, over maybe 40 minutes. And it also mentioned he stomped on the victim's head after he'd fallen.
That's just brutal detail from the report. What happened right after?
The ex then stole the victim's car, fled the scene, drove out of the county like 2 or 3 hours away.
Trying to get away, obviously. Did they catch him?
Yes, a state trooper found him later. Arrested him without any further incident, the article said.
And the charges?
Pretty serious. Aggravated assault, false imprisonment, theft, and attempted murder. Bond was set high, $100,000.
And just thinking back to the friend's perspective in the personal account,
Yeah.
her feeling of relief must have been immense.
Oh, absolutely. The account stresses her gratitude for ending things when she did. That realization, that it could potentially have been her, it's chilling.
Definitely. So, looking only at the events laid out in these two sources you provided.
You see this progression. Starts with property damage, keying the car in anger.
Yeah.
Then years later, after other reported conflicts, it culminates in this incredibly violent physical assault, an alleged attempt on someone's life.
It's quite a stark timeline when you lay it out like that, based purely on the material shared. So, bringing this back to you, the listener, what does it all mean?
Well, based strictly on this narrative arc from your sources, it poses a question, doesn't it? How valuable could it be to recognize potential patterns, potential trajectories in behavior, even when they seem to start with incidents that feel, smaller or less severe at the time, something worth considering?